Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Ends With Us. I'm your host, Brittany Wilder, and I am a wealth and wellness energy healer. I help divorced women reclaim their identity and rise again in their peace, in their confidence, and in their divine power. And I am so excited that we have another guest that's going to be sharing with us here today. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself, Miss Danela.
All right, hey y'all. So my name is Danela Butler. I am an actress slash author. So I'm just very excited to be here and talk to you, Britt.
Yes. She is my soror. This is my sister. I love her down. Okay. And she's also from Washington. You know, when Washingtonians link up, it gets a little crazy. Okay.
What?
Uh, So I'm excited for her to be on. So we're going to jump right into our questions that we have when it comes down to these generational curses. And you guys know my podcast is about breaking down generational curses. Now, generational curses, some people like to call them mindsets, cycles, patterns, habits, whatever it is that you call it. It is something that has been passed down through generation, through generation, through generation in your family. And it's usually something that is negative, that is stopping you from reaching your point, that is keeping you from getting to the blessings that God has on you in your life, right? And so we're going to jump into what that is today. So, Miss Danila, what is a generational curse, cycle, a family pattern, a habit, mindset that you have noticed that you had to break?
I would say enabling dysfunction behavior. A lot of times we normalize certain behaviors because of just who the person is or just based upon just where what kind of issues they might have had or any type of trauma they might have had, and just they've kind of attached it to their personality and just say things like, oh, that's just how I am, I'm just passionate, or just how they are, just things like that. And so I would say that's one thing that we are guilty of, is enabling dysfunction.
Listen, now, I know for a fact that there are going to be a lot of people that hear this episode in particular and be like, yes, like enabling dysfunction and allowing people just to kind of use that as their scapegoat. Like, oh, you know how they are. Like, and also, no, it's not okay. Right. That is so good. Woo. And it's a heavy one, right? And I know that a lot of people are going to be dealing with that. How did this pattern show up particularly in your life? What was that like? That that moment that, I always call it the moment of breakdown for breakthrough, right? Like, what was that moment where you were like, okay, so something's got to shift inside of me in order for me to walk into my calling, in order for me to be better and do better? What was that moment?
My therapist told me one time, there are times where I feel anxiety and sometimes depression, just sometimes traveling back at home, just sometimes the environment is not, the same as how it used to be, or just I'm starting to physically feel it in my body, because they said the things you feel eventually become physical. And so my therapist told me, well, if you feel that way, why do you keep going back? And I think for the first time I couldn't answer that question. And I think that's kind of where it clicks, is like, okay, I keep venting about it. I can't keep saying I'm not necessarily happy. And why do I keep going back? You know, I don't feel emotionally, I don't feel emotionally safe. I don't necessarily feel, you know, in I belong. So at that point I would say that's when it shifted, that something has to change. At least I have to change.
Good. I First off, I believe in healing in all the sorts. I believe in the therapist. I believe in Jesus. I believe in, non-traditional things like sample healing and hypnotherapy that I do, right? I believe in all of that holistically, I believe in healing overall. And so I am excited that you're like, my therapist said, like these are the things that I am working on actively, right? I love that. Um, and that is a tough question, right? Like, why do I keep going back into this environment with my family? Well, one, it's my family. I love them, right? So there's that, right? We sometimes feel guilt, that sort of thing. Um, but that's so heavy. And I know that a lot of people are going to feel you on that, because why do I keep going back if this is what the outcome is, right? If it's a continuous negativity or continuous, more re-traumatizing sometimes, right? I
Right.
said that you start to feel the anxiety inside of you when you get ready to go home to visit. Like that is so real. That is so real. And you're right. When you feel it in the emotions, you feel it actually in your body, right? It is the mind, body, soul connection, right? So you start to feel that. Um, so I want to ask, what are you doing? Like, what is it? And I know you said therapy. So I'm like, yes, she already talked about a tool that she's using, that she is, working on healing and working through that generational curse. But what are some other tools that you've learned along the way that have helped you, faith strategies? I know you are a woman of God, right? So what are some things that you have used that, somebody else might use in order to get through their generational curse?
So all things go back to God, right?
Amen.
So I had to kind of dig deeper and, even look into scripture. And I think of, people like Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers,
Mm.
who at some point, he even said, what you meant for evil, God got the glory out of it, or what you meant for evil, God used it for good. And so a lot of times we look at the situation, it's a hurtful situation all around. Nobody wakes up and say, I don't want to be around family. Nobody wakes up and says, like, I'm not going to speak to them. It just gradually over time it happens. And there's only so much you can necessarily do in that sense. And sometimes you have to take the S off your chest and just heal yourself. And, let one of the things Reverend Darius Daniel said is that you don't give up on people, but you give them up. Let the creator deal with his creation.
Right.
Because even I can go to New Testament. Jesus even, said, who is my mother? Who is my brother? And he pointed to his disciples and said, these are my brothers. These are my mothers. These are my sisters. You know, a lot of times, people like to say blood is thicker than water, but it's not the full quote. If anything, you know, blood is DNA, but family is a choice.
That's good. That's good. I love you sharing this topic in particular, because I've dealt with this, and I know that a lot of what I have done has been the loving from a distance, right? Recognizing that I got to put these boundaries up because, auntie so and so, you bother my spirit when I get around you. Cousin so and so, I can't quite stay around you too long. I feel your anxiety heavy on me, right? I'm a super empath, right? So I feel everybody's stuff. So I off rip, I'd be like, I'm gonna be there, right? I am one of those who is going to ask the question, especially at family events, like who's coming? Because baby, listen,
Mm-hmm.
right? But those I love how you use scripture, because it's real, and we can connect to these different stories of feeling, the betrayal from those who are supposed to be the closest to us, our family, right? There is betrayal there. There is all these different things there, but also giving grace, because, and I think that has helped me a lot in my family, is giving them that grace, because a lot of the things, it's like they don't know. They never learned it. Nobody ever taught it to them. They never decided to go and get a therapist like you and me. They They just doing the same thing, right? That's the generational they're doing the same things that their
Mm-hmm.
mothers, their fathers, their aunties, their uncles, their whoever did to them, and they just keep it going over and over and over again. But it takes a beautiful, amazing person like you and me to break that generational curse and become aware of that so that it doesn't continue on into our children. And that is the most important thing, is that it stops here. That's what this whole thing is about. It is with us. Like, stop playing with me. No more. It does not step off of this doorstep. It's done here, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it's not easy to talk about our things, but I appreciate you. So before,
Realizes that, a lot of people who are, mentally or emotionally sick sometimes don't even know they're sick. Like I said, it's normalized. A lot of people don't really see that what things that they may say and how they're moving, how it affects somebody else. But it's easier to sweep something under the rug because let's be real, healing is not linear. Healing is messy. Healing takes a lot of looking in the mirror and picking apart certain things that don't belong. People don't want to go through that. People don't want to have to reflect. People don't want to take away, the chip on their shoulder. People don't want to take away the depression because it's comfortable.
absolutely,
It's normal.
it's the easy way.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say, I wouldn't fault a lot of people for it. It's just human behavior. And where, like you said, where we find grace is where we take the titles away and just see him as human.
That's it. That's it. Knowing that they only have the capacity to give you what they gave you, and that's it. That's it. And
Mm-hmm.
I pray that that is something that somebody hears, is that I know their mom, I know their dad, I know their granny, grandpa, I know they have these different titles, they're the matriarch in your family. They're the, you know what I'm saying? Like, they are the top of the top, right? But also they're hurt and hurting and never did that inner work to even know that there is something wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
They're just living the life that God gave them, and they don't have the capacity to do more than that.
Exactly. You
Or
can't.
or do they want to even do that? Because there's that, like you're saying, some people don't. Because baby, once you open Pandora's box and you start the healing journey, you can't go back. It's like, oh, I'm here now. Like, I might as well just keep on going through, right? The only way through it, to it is through it, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's real. That's the healing journey for sure.
Right.
I want you to share what you're doing, where people can find you if they want to continue this conversation, or if they want to, support you in the things that you're doing. Go ahead and share with everybody where they can find you and all the above.
Awesome. So just find me on, Instagram. That's Danela_Butler official. I have a book called The Pearl, Unveiling the Strength Within. It's in poetry form. This is it. This is my
Come on, cover.
uh-huh.
Yes, that's right. You see the book.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Find that on either Amazon or go to danilabutler.com. Paperback is 15, ebook is 10. So there's a couple avenues, and it talks a little bit more in poetry form, just about different things about God, family, friends, etc.
Yes. For coming on. You guys, listen, you already know, if you've heard anything and God is tugging at your spirit about the generational curse in your family, about how you guys are sweeping things under the rug, how things are just being walked by and we're not addressing it and all the above, and you know that that is your family, then it's time for you to get down to the root of the cause, right? It's time for you to do your inner work and your inner healing. No mama, daddy, granny, auntie, cousin, maybe they don't see it and they don't understand it, but you are the generational curse breaker. And it's time for you to step into your calling, what God called you here to do. Called you here to break up all that stuff and start fresh and new, a new lineage, a new line, right? You started, and it ends here with you. So book that discovery call. You guys already know I'm going to put the links in here. You guys, this was so good. Thank you, Danela, again for just sharing yourself and your story and your book. You guys go follow her, reach out to her. She would love to hear from you, all the above. And we will see you guys next time for another episode of It Ends With Us. Bye, y'all.